Okay, so I want to again thank all the amazing teachers that come on every morning. We can't thank you enough. It has been an unbelievable journey for all of us. So thank you so much. I want to thank Debbie Greenblatt. Debbie Greenblatt has been involved in teaching and counseling Jewish women for over 35 years. Mrs. Greenblatt lectures across the United States on topics that include Jewish texts, Jewish thought, and relationships. For over 30 years, her weekly class in the works of Rabbi Dessler has served as an anchor in her own life and has changed the lives of many of those who have attended. She currently gives several midos va'adim that concentrate on character development. Her warm and personal approach to the woman she encounters has many women seeking her counsel and insight on the Torah's approach to their personal dilemmas. Using the unique Torah-based and practical approach that she developed to help people navigate the dating process, Debbie has been successfully coaching singles for many years. Mrs. Greenblatt writes a column on relationships for a large Jewish magazine and is regularly asked to contribute essays to a variety of publications. She is the founder of the Women's Division of Gateways. Every time I read these bios, I think, wow, look what Hashem created. It's just amazing how much impact the Jewish woman is having. So on that, Debbie, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay, I'm going to take myself off and you have the floor. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. I am awed and overwhelmed beyond anything. You know, I know Chazal say that, Bishvil Nashim Tzidkanius Nigalu Avoseinu Mitzrayim, because of the righteous women, that's why our forefathers were redeemed from Egypt. And it is clear to me what Chazal mean when they say Ubishvil Nashim Tzidkanios Asidin Lehigael, and because of the righteous women, we will also be redeemed. So I am very awed and very humbled by this group, and I hope that my words will, mean something. So in this amazing time that we find ourselves poised before Yom Kippur, each one of us knows that sometime we will be sealed into one of the books that are open before HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So as much as intellectually we do know and understand that our lives are hanging in the balance and that past performance is no guarantee of future results, it's sometimes hard to maintain that level of seriousness and awesomeness that these 10-day requires. Certainly, let's just talk about the week in the middle. Rosh Hashanah was Rosh Hashanah. I hope it was awesome for everybody in the real sense of the word awesome. Yom Kippur, in a certain way, carries itself. Just the way we prepare and the Inuyim, how we fast and all the things that we don't do. And the day itself carries us. The question is really the week in between, which we find ourselves in the middle of. And when we talk about tshuva, so it's really a hard topic to talk about in a real way. And one of the things that make it hard, I think, for us women is that not only does tshuva require seriousness, it requires some quiet thinking time. So for a woman who is busy with her life during this time, it's sometimes easier to think about whether you really need to make kreplach for the chicken soup before Yom Kippur and try and remember who said they had a recipe that really works. Or if you're a young woman going to her in-laws for Yom Tov, you could be busy thinking about which games you should bring for your kids so that your kids will be busy in your mother-in-law's house and she won't be upset about the mess that they're making. And so our lives go from one busyness to the next, which of course is all good. And even when we do stop for a moment to think about tshuva, except for the very holy ones among us, which I think might be all of you, I think that sometimes there's a niggling voice, and this is how it goes. Okay, so I know I should be better. You know what? I'm not perfect, but perfection, that's just too much to ask. Didn't anybody ever tell you that this is an imperfect world? And besides, I am a good Jewish woman. I keep mitzvahs. I do Shabbos. I do the holidays. I do kashrus. I check my clothes for shatnez. And if you are a woman who's privileged to be raising a family, then you also know that every day, all day, and sometimes into the middle of the night, you are doing chesed. We are living our lives, we hope, the way that Hashem wants us to. Should we think of ourselves as anything other than good Jewish women? Of course not. That's our definition. And if it would be wrong for us to think about ourselves in any other way. So sometimes what that brings to is that we think about ourselves as the good enough Jewish woman. I am working hard. I wear so many hats as you do. And sometimes I feel like, really, there isn't room in my life for much more. I often feel maxed out. So the question then is, what is really wanted from me during this week? Isn't what I'm doing good enough? So I want to just bring you an image from a different realm, and we'll bring it back to tshuva. Think about a woman who tells you, you know what, my marriage, it's a good enough marriage. We don't fight. We agree on some things. We have Shabbos and Yom Tov meals together. Do I have the best marriage in the world? No, but it's okay. So why rock the boat? It's been working till now. I don't have hopes or dreams for anything more than that. So what's missing from the good enough Jew, from the good enough Jewish woman? It's the same thing that's missing from the good enough marriage, and that is intimacy, the true joy of being together, that sense of meaning that an intimate connection brings. Intimacy adds richness to our lives. Life on the backdrop of intimacy is a different life. We are given different tools to deal with life's inevitable challenges. So what is sometimes missing in the busyness of our lives is an overall sense of connectedness. Shabbos is nice. It's beautiful. We look forward to Shabbos. We plan for Shabbos. We make our homes ready for Shabbos. But maybe sometimes Shabbos in the end just feels hard. Maybe there's a lot of guests and a lot of serving and a lot of dishes. And maybe sometimes there's a lot of kinderlach, Baruch Hashem, but without a lot of structure. And there's a lot of crying and mess. Pesach, can't think about Pesach now, we got to get to Sukkot first, right? But Pesach becomes this worry that we have to start planning for earlier each year. So what I want to share with you is the following thought, and that is that what we're doing is most likely enough. We can all tweak it a bit, each one of us in a different way. Maybe it's that we need to be a little bit more careful to remember to say that bracha achrona before we run out. Or maybe we should really invest in clarifying some of those Hilchos Shabbos that we're not so clear about. But the question is not, are we doing enough? I think the question for these 7 days is, are we feeling enough? Is there intimacy in our connection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu? And I have to tell you that in the tefillos that I really feel privileged to have participated in at the beginning of this meeting, I heard such real and deep connection. So take my words that I am really speaking to myself, and I'm letting you all listen. So Rav Moshe Shapiro teaches us that on each of the Chagim, on each of the festivals, we are celebrating an event. And through the Chag, through that holiday, we are reenacting that event. So some are clear, like on Pesach, we're reenacting the Exodus from Egypt. On Shavuos, we're reenacting the receiving of the Torah at Sinai. But what are we reenacting now at this time of year, from Rosh Hashanah through Yom Kippur? So on Rosh Hashanah, that was the day that human beings were created. And that is what we are reenacting. Today is Vav Tishrei. We are all 6 days old. And this time, the 40 days, starting from Elul and culminating this Thursday, Mitzvah Hashem, on Yom Kippur, this time is really bracketed by the shofar. In Elul, there's a minhag to blow the shofar. Rosh Hashanah is called Yom Tru'ah, the day of the blowing of the shofar. At the end of Yom Kippur, we blow the shofar. The shofar is the tool of our creation. And if we understand just a drop more, that we can use this understanding to symbolize the mindset that can take us successfully through the rest of this week and through Yom Kippur as well. So shofar is rebirth. That's what it signifies. The blowing is like the blowing of life into us by HaKadosh Baruch Hu at the time of our creation. Vayipach ba'apav nishmas chayim. Hashem blew with his breath, with his nostrils, kiviyachol, whatever that means, into us the nishmas chayim, the living neshama. Now, Rav Moshe Shapiro says like this: when someone does CPR on another person, they are not doing an act of chesed. They are not doing an act of tzedakah. They are giving of their life to the other person. When we heard that shofar on Rosh Hashanah, that sound, whether we felt that way or we didn't feel that way, spiritual and emotional are not the same thing. That sound penetrated to the deepest part of our souls, to the place that is before our words. Because if you think about it, only after HaKadosh Baruch Hu breathed into us the Nishmas Chayim, the living soul, only that then did we become a Ruach Mamalala, a speaking spirit. In other words, the shofar connects us to the moment in which life was breathed into us. And that's what makes it possible at this time of year for us to have a sense that we can, in fact, have a new beginning. And that is so important to where we are right now, because we need so badly to have a sense that what was till now in my life doesn't have to be what is going forward. And it's interesting. On the other side of these brackets, the shofar that starts at Elul is the shofar that we blow at the end of Yom Kippur, at the end of Ne'ilah. And that shofar blow, that sound, is the sound that is symbolic of the shofar of Matan Torah, of revelation. Because it was on Yom Kippur that Moshe Rabbeinu, our teacher Moshe, came down from Mount Sinai the third time, but with the second Luchos HaBris, with the second tablets of the covenant. And in fact, they're called Luchos HaBris. And Chazal say that the bris milah of Avraham Avinu took place on Yom Kippur at Ne'ilah time. So when we blow the shofar, it's a truah. That's the blowing. It's Yom Truah. That's how the Torah talks about Rosh Hashanah, the day of the blowing. And the word trua means two things. It means shora'im b'shevet barzel, to break apart, like to break something apart. And it also means trua from the word reus. And this has to be our understanding. So what the shofar and this time of year and this particular week does for us is that it helps us to break through whatever personal barriers each of us have that keep us from wanting to be more connected than we already are. There are sometimes things in a person's life that keep them from experiencing the joy of Hashem's presence in our life in a way that would make our connection with him very different, and therefore our lives very different. So the Nesiva Shalom brings a mashal, a metaphor, an analogy of a person who wants to go see the king. And there are so many different barriers to get to see the king. The king's in his palace, and around the palace are formidable walls with moats in between those walls filled with fearsome creatures. People want to see this king because it's told that his face radiates a light that fills the room. Many try, and most turn back. The only one that doesn't turn back from his journey to see the king is the son of the king. Before he even tries to get over that first formidable wall, he's already crying, Kaylee, Kaylee, lama azaftani, Hashem, my God, why have you abandoned me? Why am I out here and you are over there? I want the connection. And the king sees him. He hasn't even tried yet to get over one wall. And the king sees him, and the king is waiting to see. Does he really want to see me? Will he really try? And the son goes forward, and he tries. And he starts little by little to overcome because he has a burning desire to see the king. And then an amazing thing happens. At the point just past where all the others turn back because the fear is too great and the obstacles seem too impossible to overcome. At that moment, something amazing happens. The obstacles fall away. And before he knows it, he's in front of the king. If you can overcome the barriers, jump over the obstacles, then ba'ar panecha ihalechem, we will be in the light of Hashem's countenance. And it will be like coming out of the darkness and into the light. So this reminds me of a situation that I was involved in some years ago. There was a woman who for many years wanted so badly to be married, but really she didn't have much opportunity. And then it happened. She met someone and they liked each other. Is he nice? Check. Is he normal? Check. Can he hold a job? Check. And guess what? He also wants to move forward in the relationship. And then she starts to think about the what ifs. She lay in her bed at night and she twists and turns, and all kinds of monsters peek out from under the bed and from inside the closet in the darkness. He has a house. What if it's dirty and I can't live there? What if his family won't accept me? All those things that come up for her because she doesn't believe that after all this time, there's someone that really wants her and will accept her just the way she is. And therefore, those monsters start to grow in her mind. They are the mechitzos shel barzel, the barriers of iron that sometimes separate between and divide between us and that truly intimate, joyous relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And those are the barriers that made this woman, unfortunately, jump out of her bed in the morning and say, forget it, I'm calling it off. And anyway, I'm not that attracted to him. There are only two things that could get this woman through. She has to want to be married very badly. And she has to focus on the dream of the relationship that she can build with this person. And then most importantly, she has to come to the place where she really believes that he really wants her and he really cares for her and that he truly wants to be connected to her. Only then will she be able to work through her fears. Okay, and this is what the Zohar tells us. The Zohar tells us that all those obstacles to our own growth, to our own intimacy with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, for finding joy not only in tefillah, but in the everyday. Not only in the everyday, but sometimes, if I dare say it, even in the challenges of every day. So the Zohar tells us that all those obstacles, they are just like in the mashal that we brought with the king. If you just push forward a little bit more, a little bit past your comfort zone, if you're willing to start to face that first fear, then all of the obstacles fall away because they are just achizas einayim. They are an optical illusion. We see so many obstacles, but they are mostly of our own making, and they are not as real as we make them. What breaks through those obstacles for us is our desire to see the king, to have that closeness, and our belief in the other meaning of truah, which is friendship, reus, that Hashem is especially now reaching out to us in friendship, and he wants that friendship so badly. I'll share with you a story about a beautiful young Jewish woman that I know. So this young, beautiful Jewish woman, her mother is Jewish, and her father is a Muslim. I met her at a retreat, a Kiruv retreat. And on her campus, there was a wonderful woman there who really kept in touch with her and helped her on her journey. And she was just getting to the point where she was about to take on kosher. Her parents, her Jewish mother and her Muslim father, were divorced for many years. But they did speak often about their daughter. We'll call her Sarah. And they decided that this religious kick that she was on was really to neither of their liking. So these two people who were divorced for many years decided to together take Sarah on a cruise, ostensibly to spend some quality time with her. But really, and she understood that much of the point was to figure out how to talk her out of this religious craziness that she was embarking on. She came to my house the night before the cruise, and we talked about some practical considerations of how to keep kosher on a cruise. When she came back, she shared with me the following scene, and it has stuck with me for years. She described coming into the dining room on the cruise ship. So I don't know if you've ever been on a cruise, but the whole thing about a cruise is that it's very service oriented. They want to take care of you. They want you to have a good experience. So she comes into the dining room, and she's sitting with her parents and a table full of strangers. They bring her a meal all wrapped up in tinfoil. Everyone else is dining on fine china, and it feels to her like you can hear a pin drop in the dining room as she starts tearing first the cellophane and then the 2 layers of tinfoil that are around her double wrapped meal. Everyone is staring. The tinfoil ball is the largest thing on the table. The sound of the tinfoil tearing sounds like the loudest sound in the room. This was her mechitza shel barzel. This was her barrier of iron. We all have our own. Sarah got past that. And by the end of the cruise, I think both her parents realized that she was doing something serious and it wasn't just a passing phase. Sarah is today married to a beautiful Jewish man, and they're building a beautiful Torah home together. But we'll just see how many more minutes. I have a few more minutes. So the question then is, why isn't it enough to just do the right things and connect when we can connect, whenever that is? Why do we really need to seek that intimacy with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that connection of joy that needs to permeate our life and our relationships and our struggles? So it's easy to understand it from the example of the marriage that I brought before. So to the extent in a marriage, the extent to which you are invested in the relationship, that's the extent to which you can build joy. And whatever you hold back from the relationship, whatever part of you don't allow to be in that relationship, diminishes that closeness, prevents intimacy. The part of you that you leave out, the part of you that is separate, that part of you is not in the relationship. And that's the part that creates the barriers. I want to share a pasuk with you. You all know this pasuk from Tehillim. Va'ani sefilasi lacha Hashem es ratzon. Elokim barov chasdecha aneni be'emes yishecha. We say it every week when they take out the Torah. Most will sing it. Va'ani, and I, sefilasi, my tefillah, lecha is to you, Hashem, Hashem es ratzon, at this time of ratzon, at this time of desire. Elokim, Hashem, barov chasdecha, with the greatness of your ever-present loving kindness. Aneni, answer me. Be'emes yishecha, with a truthful Yeshua, with the real salvation, with the real redemption. This time, right now, these 10 days, and specifically these 7 days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, they are the biggest, deepest, most profound Eis Ratzon that we have in the entire year. The king is the closest that he will be all year. And we have to remember that just like we want to be in his presence, because we want the joy of connection and the joy of the closeness, and we want that intimacy and joy to lend meaning to every single aspect of our life. As much as we want it, so does he. That's the Eis Ratzon. And just like that woman who didn't go ahead with that shidduch, because she couldn't really believe in her heart of hearts that that man wanted her just the way she is, that he would accept her just the way she is. We too have to get past our own obstacles and our own fears. And we have to come to really, truly believe that Hashem wants us, and he wants the closeness with us more even than we want the closeness with him. And that has to break down our barriers. There's a piyut. There's a piyut. A piyut is a poem kind of tefillah that we say. Some minhagim is to say it right at the beginning of Kol Nidre. Others have it in other places in the davening on Yom Kippur. And I just want to share with you a few words from this piyut that we say on Yom Kippur. It's called Lacha Keli Chukasi. To you, Hashem, is my chuka. Chuka is a word that defies a one-word English translation. It's yearning, desire, ambition, all rolled in one. So I'll just read a few lines because this is where we are. This is our avoda. This is what we need to work on. This is what we need to believe, that as much as we daven for this, Hashem also wants this. Lacha keli chukasi, b'cha cheshki v'ahavasi. To you, Hashem, is my yearning. B'cha, in you, cheshki, is my desire, v'ahavasi, and my love. Lacha libi v'chil yosai. In you are my heart and my kidneys, my innards. Lacha ruchi v'nishmasi. To you is my spirit and my soul. Lacha yadai, lacha raglai. To you are my hands. To you are my feet. Umimcha hi tchunasi. And all that I am, all the aspects of my innate personality and my innate character, they are from you. L'cha atzmi, l'cha dami. For you is my essence. For you is my essence. For you is my blood. Ori im gviasi, my skin together with my body. L'cha einai v'ra'ayonai. To you are my eyes and all of my thoughts. V'tsurasi, v'tavnisi, and my form, and all the ways that I am built. L'cha ruchi v'kochi, l'cha kochi. To you is my spirit. To you is my strength. Umivtachi v'tikvasi. And you are my hope. And you are my promise. V'tikvasi. And to you is my hope. So I'm just going to end with two very quick things. One is a practical thing. What should we do for the next few days? So one of the most powerful things I learned on this topic, I would say, I learned from Rabbi Kellerman many years ago in his Musarva that I was part of for a number of years. And he talked about the idea of purposely, consciously, he called it having a hakara, a recognition of Hashem with you at every moment. And we used to do things to try and make ourselves remember. Sometimes we had a bracelet that we would put from one hand to the other. Oh, a few times a day, let's remember that Hashem is here. Shivisi Hashem lenegdi samid. That Hashem is here right now with me all the time. When I'm online in the grocery store and I'm going to be late for carpool. When I'm too tired to do another thing and my kitchen is a mess and I don't want to get up to the mess in the morning. When I'm challenged by a relative that I have no choice but to have a relationship with. If you could remember that Hashem is there, the Nesiva Shalom says, Shivisi Hashem lenegdi samid means that it puts a smile on my face. Because if Hashem is here, then what can I be afraid of? Absolutely, absolutely nothing. And the other thing is, in intimacy, we whisper. We whisper to each other. What are our hopes? And what are our dreams? And what are we afraid of? And don't be afraid to whisper those things to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in these days coming up to Yom Kippur. I just want to end with a bracha for this unbelievably holy and unbelievably auspicious group. that you should have a Gemar Chasima Tova, a good gebenched year, a year of happiness and health and parnasa. Hashem should answer kol mishalos libchem rak latova. Hashem should answer all of your prayers